Hey, my people, we're back. I know I'm never back. I'm always back. I'm gone, and here we go. We're back. I got some news to report to you guys. Something I welded up about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, finally failed on me, and what it is the shock tabs on the Tacoma. So as you know, I bought a welder back in 2020, mainly to do this project. I welded on a couple pieces of material. I welded up the shock tabs. They were fairly short. Uh, they were fairly short and kind of tall. They weren't wide enough for how tall they were, which is obviously the whole leverage factor. And then, of course, I didn't radius the edges on one side, and also that same side, also the shock was blown. So the seals were pretty much compromised, and it's been leaking oil. But I've neglected the thing because of, I have a million things to work on. So I cut I found out that the mount was laid over, so it was all the way laid over. So I pulled the bolt. I basically disassembled the front end, which I'll show you guys here, so you guys can see a little bit of what I'm talking about. And of course, I got this just hanging up right here. No tension on the brake lines or anything, if you guys are asking. But I have to post my mess ups, that way I can appreciate my the good things that I do. So up until this point, everything worked fine, up until, since I welded it. But I just noticed it in the driveway. Nothing catastrophic happened with the truck. Literally, I just noticed that it was the mount had been compromised. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna basically, you can see where the bottom of the shock was mounted. Pretty dirty and muddy from all that shock oil that got compounded on there. I'll show you what the other side looked like. The other side looks like that. And I'll show you what it did to the lower control arm. The lower control arm turned out like this. So as you can see, big gaping hole. We're gonna do some fixing, some cutting and some fixing to get that thing patched up and see if we can go through what we're gonna do. Just to give you a little, you can kind of see the grease marks on what we're gonna do. I'm gonna cut it out basically wider than the damage, and then we're gonna do a fill plate, a smaller fill plate in here, or basically a fill plate right here, and then we're gonna do a doubler plate that runs all the way on the outside here. So we're gonna do 11 gauge fill plate, cold rolled flat stock steel, and then we're gonna do an 1/8 inch thick overlay plate to cover up this whole area right here. So stay tuned. So as you can see here, I pretty much took everything out of here. I vacuumed this. I freaking grinded out the hole. This is just a rough cut in the hole. Might take way more material, might not. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an 11 gauge filler plate. That's gonna go right here. Fill this hole. This internal rib right here, going to see what we can do about making sure we tie that into the filler plate really well, and then fill this, and then after that, after we do a filler plate, we're gonna actually run the tabs off the filler plate and run them through the doubler plate that's gonna basically sit above here, above the filler plate. So it's gonna be 1/8 inch thick. The reason why we're kind of thinking about doing the tabs off the filler plate is because we want to keep it the same height. We don't want to change the location of the bottom eyelet of the shock. So also we're going to make sure we get correct, the correct spot where we want it to be at, where the shock. So I'm going to be talking with the original
person that made these and see. Well, he already gave me photos of where he had it mounted to, so we're gonna try to mount the shock exactly where it was at. So the problem was I got this kit, the shock mounts were done differently than how he made the kit. So, and I was having problems with the shock mount running to that full lock. I'd be rubbing on the tie rod with the shock, with the spring of the shock. I'd be rubbing it, and that was a no-no. So I changed the location. The location was fine. That's not the reason why this happened. The reason why was because, like I said previously, is the tab was too high. They were not wide enough. I didn't radius my corners. I didn't weld the inside, and I didn't box it in, as well as the shock being blown. So there was literally a lot of factors. It held up for what, since 2020, so 2 years, and that's about what, probably 50 to 70,000 miles of taking it to the desert, driving it every day for work. So it did great, but this time obviously we're paying the price by having to cut into this control arm and rework it. So next thing is going to be just to do the double plate, and then we'll follow up with that in the next video.